Commission has come to order. We do have special guests here. The President of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, Ms. Sederfelt of Sweden. We also have the Vice President from Cyprus, Vice President Karl Lambidis.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. And the Vice President who is, we also have Mr. Senator Pascal Alizard of France, who is an OCAPA Vice President from Normandy. Thank you. Where you didn't have to be a member of NATO for America to come help. And we're joined in the audience by the OSCE Parliamentary Secretary General, the man who does the work and gets everything done, Roberto Montella. Thank you. Thank Gregory Meeks for allowing us to use this room. He's the chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Today's hearing will focus on propaganda and censorship in Putin's Russia, both of which we have seen disturbing escalation since the outset of Putin's unprovoked war on Ukraine. Of course, it was very easy to see his propaganda. He constantly said, we're not going to go to war. This is a training exercise. We have no plans to go to war. We're not going to go to war. We're not going to go to war. I'd cert him. And then he went to war. These practices, which he's engaged in, are reminiscent of the Stalin era and aim to cut Russia off from the rest of the world and from reality itself by not allowing the truth to be broadcast. Putin is building a new Iron Curtain in attempts to justify his indefensible war and continued attacks against the Ukrainian people. Putin's Kremlin manufactured lies as a pretext for his invasion and only ramped up propaganda since. He claimed he was there to denazify Ukraine. There are no Nazis there, and President Zelensky is of Jewish heritage, and the idea of him being a Nazi is absurd. But he can say what he thinks. He creates the truth, and he tells the Russian people, and they accept it. This has happened even in America. Certain people have new facts, and they claim what the truth is, and they continue to say it. Putin's narrative that the U.S. is helping Ukraine develop biological weapons on its territories is absurd, and that's something he does, and he sometimes tells you what he's going to do. He projects, and some individuals do that. He did the same thing in Syria before he and Assad used chemical weapons on civilian populations there. Putin claims Ukrainian forces are firing upon and bombing its own people, including women and children hiding in shelters, and of course that's baseless as well. His assertion that Ukrainians are covered in blood and running for their lives are crisis actors is another lie. I mean, it's just lie after lie after lie. And that, of course, is an insult to the dead and the nearly 6.5 million people displaced inside Ukraine and neighboring countries by Putin's activities. The fact that some Russian citizens believe that a war in Ukraine, a country on its borders, is not even happening is evidence of Putin's ability to manipulate the truth. It's a special military operation, whatever in the hell that is. It's a war, but if you say it's a war, you get thrown in possibly 15 years in jail. It's absurd, and there are great people like Navalny who will say it, and a couple of ladies who were on television in Russia who said it, and hopefully they will not suffer that 15-year penalty. Those fabrications that he's used inside Russia and other countries where the Kremlin is trying to make falsehood stick through lies and lies and lies, much like Goebbels, the propagandist of the Hitler regime. And ironically, it was that Nazi type of propaganda against Jewish people that Putin is using, and yet he claims he's going to denazify a country. Just like he's got a siege of cities in Ukraine, similar to what Hitler had in Stalingrad, Leningrad, where his parents were, and I think his oldest brother died, and his father was injured, and his mother may have been injured. But they told stories, and that had a great deal in shaping his consciousness, but not his conscience. Because if he had a conscience, he wouldn't do that. He is now Hitler. To make his propaganda machine work, Putin's Kremlin is censoring independent media and forcing all remaining outlets to peddle his message, and if not, they're in big trouble. After the first week of his invasion, he blocked Russian access to Facebook and Twitter, as well as international news sites still operating there. Now Facebook and Instagram have been permanently banned after a Russian court declared Meta platforms as an extremist organization. Independent Russian media outlets have been removed from the air and ultimately shut down. I think the last one just closed down a couple of days ago. They couldn't take it anymore. They've run off Radio Free Europe to the best they can, and Radio Liberty, Voice of America, although they've been getting a lot of hits on certain sites, in spite of the fact that they've been banned, and I think they were tried to be sued for a lot of money as well. We've seen independent outlets leave and news people leave for fear of being arrested. Putin does not want his Russian people to see the truth about the war. It's his war, unprovoked aggression on a peaceful democratic neighbor. We have a panel of distinguished witnesses who will help us understand Putin's propaganda machine, the rapidly shrinking information space in Russia and the U.S., and our allies can consider as we look ways to push back against Putin's disinformation. So we welcome our witnesses. In person, we will hear from Fatima Talis, a Russian journalist for Voice of America who's an expert on Russian disinformation, I think a former Russian citizen, is that true, and exiled here. Following Ms. Talis, we'll hear from Peter Pomerantsev, who's a journalist, author, and senior fellow at the Gore Institute at Johns Hopkins University, who I saw on MSNBC or CNN and realized that's the guy we need. He's the pro from Dover. And then we'll hear from the magic of the internet or cable or some kind of Zoom from Vladimir Kara-Murza, a Russian journalist, author, former host at Echo, Moscow Radio, and one of the great heroes of our time, who has twice been poisoned by the Russians, yet returns to Russia because that's his home. He's a Russian politician, as he tells me. That's his home. He will not leave. He will stay there to bring about change. I consider him a hero, and I wish he'd listen to me and stay in Virginia. But he's going to join us by video today. And with that, I want to turn it over to I guess, my ranking member who is pushing the button.